Alexander Ratana, Professor Valeriano.
So, my question and what I asked was how informed. Let me enlarge this. Okay. Can I use this? Oh, I can. Sweet. How informed are undergraduate students on college campuses on living sustainably? My name is Alexander Ratana. My major is liberal arts with emphasis of global studies and psychology. So I wanted to start off my presentation by defining what sustainability is. So I wanted to use two search engines that everyone seems to be using quite often nowadays. Dictionary.com. Dictionary.com says that it's the quality of not being harmful to the environment or depleting natural resources and thereby supporting long-term ecological balance. Urban Dictionary reports that it basically means living life to the fullest without comprising future generations to do so as well. So why did I choose this topic? Well, I want to show you guys just a little video. It should play. It's called Man by Steve Cutts. He's one of my favorite animators. I'm quite addicted to animations and especially the poetic lessons they basically that they use. And yeah, pretty much. So besides man feeling superior to everything on the planet, man has used animals for a number of things, such as food, accessories, entertainment, musical instruments, and animals are used for cosmetic testing and whatnot.
Oh, God.
The National Marine Fisheries Service in 2014 reported that America alone fishes 100,000 pounds of fish a day. Besides cutting down the forests, wiping off the Amazon, we see desertification, soil erosion, effects of agriculture and industrial farming, poisoning of fresh waters, lakes, rivers. The world cannot keep up with our demand anymore, and we see that. This is the America we live in today, folks. And this is the future that's going to come. We continue it. As you can tell, I'm quite passionate about this. Very, very passionate. And I just wanted to know who else is. So I asked a simple question. How informed are undergraduate students on living sustainably? And how does this knowledge affect their sustainability-related lifestyle? My hypothesis was that freshman and sophomore participants aren't really aware of sustainability because I wasn't aware of it. So I used my own experience to judge my hypothesis before going about my research. And as for seniors, I expected just greatness and hope for the future. So, pretty much. So the methods I took throughout my research. So I created a 20-question survey. you can see in Appendix A of my paper and whatnot. Well, the survey, it's not really long. It takes about 5 minutes to take, and I don't think it was too bad. I tested seniors first in my own capstone class, and then I tested freshmen in an ID 117 class. I so lucky to get 25 participants. Out of the seniors, I got 20 participants, and out of the sophomores, I tested along just walking about through college or through the campus, and I got 25 as well. I gathered and interpreted data. So the first question that comes off after you read the disclaimer of my survey is, can you define sustainability? Yes, no, can you circle yes or no? And what does it mean to you? That's it. My results show that 60% of freshmen could not define it successfully. 52% of sophomores could not define it successfully. But a short number of 30% of seniors could not define it. That's the result that 55% of seniors here could define it successfully. Granted, they attempted, but they got more of the attempts who were right. Freshmen, on the other hand, were too good at attempting it. And there are different categories that I focused on in my survey. The first category was energy use, and there were a number of questions that I asked, such as if they unplug their devices or device chargers after use, or do they, while the heat is on, do they open the doors, the windows, stuff like that. But for this category, I focused on this question alone. Do they turn off the lights whenever not in use? I found that freshmen, a high number of freshmen do, sophomores and seniors. So it's something positive, something everyone's pretty much aware of. The second category I focused on water use, and I asked a number of things as well, such as if they washed a load in cold water, did they pack a full load of water, pack a full load of clothing in the washer, and this was this was really disappointing actually, but I'm focusing on the positives of things. So freshmen never do it. Sophomores are some around the same as well, and seniors also. But we have more sophomores that sometimes do it than freshmen alone and seniors. So still a little hope for the future, so it's not too bad. Sorry. And the next category I focused on was personal behavior. In the personal behavior, my survey asked if they recycled whenever possible, use the hydration fountains instead of buying a new water bottle every day. And I focused on question 15, if they printed double-sided or not. I never, so freshmen never print double-sided, sophomores either, and seniors, I understand since we do have a lot of things regarding finals to turn in and whatnot, papers and all that, but it makes sense. But we see high amounts of sophomores that do. So, larger than the freshmen and seniors, and they're the next generation to come to graduate. So, it's a little hope for that. So, in the end of my survey, there was a general feedback section. And in this section, I asked questions on if they were interested in adopting sustainable behaviors, and if it was something that they cared about. Another question that I asked is if it was important for MCU to offer sustainable related programs on campus, and what types of programs were they interested in if they said yes. And 3 common ones kept showing up. It was education, awareness, special events. They want to be part of conserving. That's what it seems like. And the next one is conservation competitions and incentives provided. So they want to participate in some kind of energy saving competition throughout the week, probably at the dorms or probably just doing it on your own and recording. It can be that simple. Or if students are also interested in carpooling incentive programs, driving each other from the dorms back and forth, why not get rewarded for it? I don't see the problem in that. And these are just small steps to a more sustainable MCU. And we'll reach our goal one day. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Alex, why do you suggest using cold water when washing?
Well, besides the fact that cold water has been proven to clean a lot better than hot water and warm water, yes, it has. I think that it is a little more safer because you're not using as much energy as heating up water, using your boiler, and then putting that hot water into your wash to wash your clothing, and it gets sent down the drain, and then you waste water and energy. So I'm focusing on the bigger one. So, any other questions? Yeah.
Is there a reason why the junior class was left out?
Yes. Well, as a junior, I believe that I was a little more focused on my schooling, and that I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on around school or school programs, and I think all you guys can attest to that as well. So I didn't want to bother them, to be honest. Anything else?
You said that as a freshman you weren't really aware about sustainability. Do you remember what it was that got you excited
Yes,
or involved?
yes. I was introduced. I took a class during my spring semester. It was called the Introduction to Sustainability, but that was taught by Kathleen Talma, and she changed my life for the better. I joined her group, her club. It was called the Global Student Initiative Club. The following semester after that, and then the next semester I became her intern. Did the practicum, the interdisciplinary practicum. And then from there I got a job. So I started working for her for about a year, and then she quit. And she moved on to her other job, and then I started working for Richard, and it's been good so far, but I recently needed to make a little more money since I'm moving out and all, so I had to get another job. So I had to quit working here to work at a better place. So that offers just a little bit more, but that's it, yeah.
What is it, your job at, Alex?
Huh? I work at Sprouts now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, on your data chart, you have the numbers of those, the raw numbers or the percentages of people within each group. For example, you have.
I had the raw numbers up. The percentages that I basically kind of calculated myself, just dividing the total from the participants. So that was it. This man taught me all that. Question.
So, silly question. So you said cold water proven to clean better than hot water?
Yes.
Are you pertaining like to clothes, just clothes, not dishes, right?
Clothing.
It's not dishes, right? It's
No.
just clothes.
Clothing. I would hope you wash dishes in cold water. Oh, you guys don't do that either? Oh, man. Question.
What would you recommend, based on your study, that Marymount should do to increase those? Assuming that increasing those numbers is a good thing.
I think the first thing that we need to take is hire a new teacher. That's it.
A new sustainability.
Yeah, a new sustainability teacher. That's it. Kathleen was amazing. She changed a lot of people's lives, especially mine. So I think we should start with that and then look forward for the future and see what they can provide.
And would you say that your experience with her and your sustainability experience influenced your ability to gain employment?
Yes, definitely in the field that I actually care about. So yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, to go off what Duncan said, I've been working in the sustainability department, and I remember when Kathleen worked here, and she really got the sustainability awareness out there. There was a lot more programs, but recently, since she's left, I've seen it decreasing, because she used to do a lot of lectures like the one you were talking about, and that's how I learned about it.
Cool.
And so I think that it's something in the sustainability department should really get lecturers out there more involved in the classes.
Yes, definitely. That's what we're looking for regarding Richard and what he wants. But Richard isn't doing anything. He is doing stuff. He actually just implemented a native plant grow project here. So he's now taking invasive plants out of our gardens and adding the native plants. So I think that's something. It's a small step, but it's just something that's positive.
Yeah, they're starting to go on with more programs, and Richard actually just recently moved on to another company. So now they're looking for new management to see a different direction. So hopefully we get more programs, which would be awesome.
Now.
Cool. Is that it? Oh, thank you so much.
David Gonzalez, Professor Valerie Anderson.
Alright, so my name is David Lehman Gonzalez. I'm a liberal arts major with an emphasis in business and psychology. And today we're going to go ahead and be looking at light's effect on this circadian rhythm of night shift workers. And like I said, my hypothesis is that light will indeed have a negative effect on the circadian rhythm of night shift workers and their performance, and their workplace performance. So first off, if you don't know, your circadian rhythm is your natural sleep-wake cycle. So this is for, if you hear old people say that they always wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning, or if you consider yourself a night owl or an early bird, this is largely in part due to your natural sleep cycle and your circadian rhythm. And it is largely regulated by light, sunlight, and fluorescent lights, hormones, so such as estrogen and all that, and neurochemicals, so like melatonin or dopamine. And the circadian rhythm, along with controlling your sleep-wake cycle, also has to do with your mood, your alertness, appetite, and your body temperature. So, how much sleep do you get? The National Sleep Foundation in 2011 actually polled Americans aged 13 to 64. And what they had found was that 60% experienced problems sleeping at night. And of those 60%, 15 say that they get less than 6 hours of sleep. Now, this is interesting because Americans don't really sleep that much, and if you actually have 16 more hours of non-consecutive, so if you have multiple nights of staying up, going out, partying, or studying, or you're actually a night shift worker, the cumulative hours, 16 or more, you're actually legally drunk and you can get pulled over and arrested. I thought this was pretty interesting. This is probably about the equivalent of about 4 or 5 beers for somebody who weighs about 150 pounds. So with technology and sleep, 95%, this is a huge number, 95% actually report the use of computers, cell phones, laptops, at least an hour before bed. Now this is Netflix, this is your going on Facebook, checking through Instagram, Twitter, any use of social media or laptops. And the problem with this is that it's so easily accessible. Everybody has their phone with them. Some people have their laptops here with them right now. If you wanted to, you can just pull it out whenever you need it, wherever you are. And everybody watches Netflix and Hulu and all this stuff. And actually I found it interesting that binge watching is 5 episodes in one session. That doesn't really seem that hard to do, so it's very easily able to get lost in time and just watch episodes as long as you want. And you can actually stay up pretty late doing this. And so here's the lighting that is used in your laptops and in your phones is actually emitted by LEDs and backlights. LEDs actually are emitted by the sun. There's actually blue light in the sun and also in LEDs. And now as you can see here, that halogen, the typical light bulbs that we're used to, compared to LEDs completely blow them out of the water in environmental and economical standpoints. But what it doesn't account for is the physical aspect of it. While LEDs are good and seen in a positive light in economics and in businesses, is that it's far cheaper, they last a lot longer, and they use less energy. But what happens is LEDs are actually a higher frequency light. So it actually damages our retinas and our lenses and our cones, and it impacts our physical health. And now this leads to many dangers, and this is where we're getting into with the night shift workers. the LEDs, the blue light, actually has been found to suppress melatonin, which is the neurochemical in our body that makes us feel sleepy. And along with suppressing melatonin, it also suppresses levels of estrogen in females. And this high frequency light, like I said, it's around 610 terahertz, whereas in relation to the halogen lights, it's about 540. So right there, you can already tell that it's a lot harsher of a light. So like I said, this passes through your retinas and your cornea and your cones, and it actually damages them. And that's why if you stay up late with a bright light watching TV or on your laptops, your eyes will actually start hurting after a while. And actually, this is going to be a new standard for industry lighting and lighting everywhere. In 2020, it's actually predicted that 90% of all lighting will be transferred over to LEDs. And by 2018, Europe is actually banning the production of halogen light bulbs. So the prediction of 2020 is actually looking pretty good. If not, it might come even sooner. So how does this relate to night shift workers? Well, there are currently 15 million night shift workers today. And like I said, a large portion of that is in our medical field, so with nurses. And so it was actually found that 49%, if females that work the night shift, 49% are more likely to develop ovarian cancer. And this is due to high levels of estrogen and low levels of melatonin. So that right there is already one of the biggest health factors for night shift workers among women. So like I said, we have over 15 million night shift workers in America, and 26% of those are due to insufficient child care, financial needs, so they either are working 1 or 2 jobs, or they're going to school and they can't work during the day, so they must refer to working at night. Right now, it's really hard for everybody to regulate their circadian rhythm. You cannot stay up till 5 in the morning one night, be completely rested the next day, and go to bed by 9 o'clock in the morning, or 9 o'clock at night, and just kind of go to bed whenever. So it's really hard to regulate. And this is actually an ongoing study by the US Navy. My dad is a chief in the Navy stationed over in Vandenberg, and right now he's leading one of the researches for the best possible shifts rotations. So what they're doing right now, and what is seeming to be the most promising, is a 6-day on, 4-day off. So what they'll do is they'll have their stations. So they'll have a 8 a.m. to a 4 p.m. and then a 5 p.m. to a 10. And then they'll have their night shift workers who come in at 11 and they'll stay until 7 in the morning. And what they found was that the night shift workers, it's best that they do 6 days of that rotation, and then they take 4 days off to go ahead and kind of rejuvenate, catch up on sleep, spend time with their families. And at the end of that 4 days, then they'll do 6 days of the previous earlier schedule. So they'll kind of have an ongoing rotation throughout their cycles. And now this is dangerous because sleep deprivation is very dangerous. It's actually reported that about 20% of all night shift workers report getting into a car accident, whether it's a little fender bender or something serious. And like I said earlier, this is largely due because of the deep sleep deprivation that goes on with 16 or more hours illegally drunk. And so there was actually a study conducted by Yoon and a couple other people in China, and they conducted this study by using 12 night shift workers in the nursing profession, and they exposed 4 to normal light, so it'd be lighting such like this. They exposed 4 to bright light, so rooms with LED lighting, and they also exposed 4 to another room with bright light LEDs, but they gave them sunglasses while they worked. And what they found was that the 4 with the bright light with sunglasses actually had higher workplace performance, and they had higher levels of melatonin, or lower levels of melatonin in their system. And this is good because the more melatonin that was in your system, the sleepier that you were, and the more able you were to get to sleep. So this really promoted a healthy circadian rhythm. And what they found was that those workers who also simulated a soft morning light when they were returning to and going to their night shift by using a black light or an orange tint, or even their sunglasses, had the more melatonin and were able to better regulate, if not their circadian rhythms. And so through this, I found that LEDs did in fact have a negative effect on the circadian rhythm. And some of the solutions that I've uncovered was to get outside. So it's found that 30 minutes to 60 minutes outside in the sun actually helps promote a positive and healthy circadian rhythm. It produces more dopamine, it produces more melatonin, and it boosts melatonin production. And also, what you can do is you can download on your laptops, on your cell phones. There's many apps out there that you can download that actually provide a blue light blocking orange tint on it. So for computers, that would be like Flux with Windows 10. Actually, about a month ago, it was a whole system update. So every Windows 10 user actually now has this new software where you can turn it on and it mimics the sunrise and the sunset on your computer with a orange filter. And so in the morning, the filter is basically off, but as the day goes on, it auto-regulates itself to go ahead and have a large effect, so the screen is almost completely orange. And on cell phones, you can get blue light filters, and it's the same thing. However, they do not have the automated effect. And last but not least, you can go ahead and purchase blue light blocking glasses. If you're used to already spending around $80 to $100 on sunglasses, this will be a very easy transition. However, if you usually spend about 15 to 20 bucks on sunglasses, it would be quite an investment to go ahead and purchase some blue light blocking sunglasses. And this is actually a company that I've been working with called Swannies, Swanlit Glasses. They're based here out of LA. And I'm sure we all know Bono over here. We've actually worked closely with Bono because he likes his orange sunglasses. Those are actually blue light blocking because of all the travel and all of the performances and all that stuff. The lighting can be very harsh. So with that, I thank you, and we'll open up the
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you think taking melatonin would help?
Yes.
Like whether it be like before you go to bed or whenever, that would help?
It would be a short term. It would boost your levels shortly so that you can get to bed easier. But in the long run, it's not production, like your body's natural production. So it would just be like a short time. So say, if in about a week you're starting to feel groggy and stuff like that, you take some melatonin, it'll help for that short time. But it's not going to help promote your circadian rhythm, so you'll still have the mood swings, the estrogen levels, and all that other stuff. So it'd mainly just be focusing on one aspect and not the whole.
If by 2020 most of the lights are LEDs, are we all going to start wearing? I mean, that's not acceptable to me.
Yeah.
Are we all going to start wearing these orange glasses? That's
You are.
a little weird. That's
Preferably
a little weird.
Swannies. No.
What do you think?
Yeah. So the main reason they've mainly overlooked the physical aspect of LEDs. Mainly they're focusing on the low cost and the low energy use, and they're kind of taking the good with the bad. So they're putting the environment over us. So they know that it's harmful to the eyes, but at the same time, most people, majority, operate during the day. So not that many operate during the night. So they kind of took it.
Well, then it's not going, those LEDs, when they're used to illuminate a store display or something, I'll walk away from it because it hurts the eyes. Well, but that's in the daylight.
Yeah.
So are you saying I won't have the same eye or anyone else won't have
Yeah,
the
so
same eye
this is mainly for the
daylight?
night shift
This is
workers.
really the
Sunlight actually has about 35% blue light in it already, along with ultraviolet. So during the day, we're already exposed to the blue light, so it doesn't affect us that much. It's just when we have our cell phones and our laptops on at night, when it's extremely bright, is when we start staying up later because the bright light is making our bodies think that it's earlier on in the day. And so yeah, so the sunlight won't actually, for people that operate during the day, won't actually have that much of an effect. It's just the night shift workers.
Other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jessica Mitchell, Professor Valerie Anderson.
Okay, yeah, so hi, my name is Jessica Mitchell. I'm a liberal arts major here. My two areas of emphases are biomedical science and behavioral science, which will become clear as I talk to you about zoonotic diseases and prevention. So a zoonotic disease is any disease that can be transmitted between animals and people. So some common examples you might have heard of is anthrax, West Nile, SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome, and E. coli. So there are 5 main ways that these are transmitted. So first of all, orally, so you can eat something from an infected animal. Direct contact, so say you get scratched by an infected animal. Fomite is an inanimate object, so say an animal lays down on some bedding and then you go and you pick up that bedding and you have maybe like a scratch on your hand. That's another way you can get one. Through vectors, so those are usually insects, so like mosquitoes, we know carry like West Nile virus. Aerosol transmission, the way that this occurs most often is when an animal is giving birth and their birthing fluids kind of get into the air and you inhale them. So how did this become a problem? Basically, the history of how this became a problem is also kind of like the history of civilization, really. We first nomads, and once we started domesticating animals and interacting with animals, we started being more exposed to these kind of diseases. So fast forward to now, deforestation, intensification practices really have created a breeding ground for these pathogens, and our demand for livestock products is so high that we really have expounded this problem. So why should you care? 60% of all human diseases and 75% of all emerging diseases are zoonotic. In least developed countries, a whole 20% of all of their illnesses and death are due to zoonotic diseases. And the UK funded this report, and they found that they just took, there's hundreds of zoonotic diseases, and they took just the top 13, and they found that just those 13 were responsible for 2.2 million human deaths and 2.4 billion cases of illness every year. So clearly this is a really big threat to public health. So who does this affect? Primarily low and middle income countries. There's a really strong association between hunger, poverty, livestock keeping, and then being exposed to zoonotic diseases. So you can see 70% of rural poor, 10% of urban poor are dependent on livestock. So a lot of the world's poor, you can see in India, Nigeria, Ethiopia, and Bangladesh are dependent on livestock. So what can we do to help prevent and alleviate this problem? We have this thing called a surveillance system, and it's not like a surveillance system like outside of a bank or something, it's biosurveillance. So what it does is it watches out for disease outbreaks and kind of monitors increases in different diseases, and then the goal really is to reduce morbidity, mortality, and death, and economic loss. So an ideal system is able to put a halt on a disease outbreak before it gets bigger. The problem is that this is kind of a complicated system. There's not an easy umbrella solution. There are a lot of elements that come into play. This was kind of one of the more simple graphs I could show you, basically just so that you understand that it's very complicated. This is why we haven't done a better job of preventing zoonotic diseases. But through my research, I picked out 3 elements I thought were particularly important, and through improving on, we could really help alleviate this problem. So one of them is clinical field and laboratory competencies. So that's basically clinicians. So basically our medical professionals being really on top of the problem. So for example, there are events where diagnoses were missed. So say someone came in, the doctor thought they just had the flu and they sent them home, when really they had like West Nile virus or something, and now it's being spread much further than it would have been if we had been able to properly diagnose it. So when we do well though, we really are able to stop them from spreading. For example, the anthrax bioterrorism attack was able to be halted and save lives because there was a very keen physician who's really on top of it, and for early diagnosis. Also in New York, at a zoo, we were also able to put a halt on a West Nile outbreak there. So I think this is really a make or break element. Another element is social science input. So this is kind of where the behavioral science part of my degree comes into play. So you can't disregard the fact that there's a human element to every problem. So one of them, I think, well, there's two main human elements I think come into play to this problem. One is risk perception. The CDC needs to be very careful about the way that they inform people, because we need to keep people informed but not panicked. That's when misinformation occurs and further spreading of the disease. The second is socioeconomic factors. So like I was saying before, this really affects the world's poor and livestock keepers. And when you don't have the privilege to education and you don't have access to your personal protective equipment, which you know, we don't have a lot of widespread education about this in some areas, because, for example, your personal protective equipment is like wearing a mask, wearing gloves, wearing coveralls when interacting with livestock, or when interacting with people who have just contracted disease from the livestock. So this was implicated in the SARS virus transmission, the failure to wear your personal protective equipment. The final element I think is really, really important is collaboration between multiple sectors. You would think that this is kind of a no-brainer, but there's this concept of One Health, and it's that the human health, animal health, and agricultural sectors need to be in constant contact. And you'd be surprised in a lot of governments right now, they only kind of come into contact when there's a problem, and honestly, that's too late. They should not mobilize after there's already an outbreak. They need to be doing it beforehand. So what can technology do for us? There's this system called the Global Public Health Intelligence Network. Basically what it does is it takes formal and informal information. It's like formal information from veterinary offices that, you know, log so many cases, informal information from people Googling and blogging, and it takes it and it compiles it, creates kind of a report, picks up trends, and sends it to a person who's able to kind of be the brain and analyze and then send that report to everyone who subscribes to this system. And this is also, again, where the socioeconomic factors come into play, because there's a subscription fee, and poor countries cannot afford it. It's very large. But it's effective. It helped detect SARS early in China. So, now that you're more informed, what can you do? There's 3 apps that you can download. They're all free. Health Map kind of does what this app does, except more on a personal level. I've actually downloaded this app. I think it's really great. I saw just the other day that there's a superbug in a plant, sewage treatment plant in LA. They won't tell us which one, but we're not able to treat it. So just staying informed. It kind of freaks you out, but at least you know about it. And then the CDC released these 2. And one is travel, so they'll tell you if you need to get a vaccine before you go someplace, or maybe suggest that you don't go there at all. Can I eat this? Will tell you, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, what's safe to eat in the region that you are. Yeah.
Why are you so passionate about this? Just like what made you get into it?
Oh yeah, I actually want to be a physician assistant. So I want to go into the medical field, and I think it's really important to be aware of what's going on in the world, threats to public health.